welcome to Extra Star Wars. We have a very special production tonight. As we're not live, we are post-production, and what we're going to do tonight is we are going to present to you our thoughts on Rogue One after a phenomenal season 2 of Andor. I mean, honestly, groundbreaking. We've talked about it. You can check out those shows over on the YouTube channel. You can check out the audio version over on Spotify or wherever podcatcher that you enjoy. And we are going to essentially break down scene by scene Rogue One, and we're going to make it 2 parts because it's going to be a little lengthy. And we're here with Mike. We're here with Damien. This is a completely new format because when we have a formula that is working perfectly, we say fuck it and let's start over and do something new. Because that's the content. That's all about the content machine. All right. And we're going to, this is a movie that is 10 years old. I can't believe it. So to introduce this movie, I want to hear from our crowd here, and I'll finish up with my story. When did you see Rogue One for the first time? Who did you see it with? And how did you feel walking out of the theater? All right. Let's start with Dame.
So I saw this with a girl I was dating at the time who I was trying to get into Star Wars. And this was the movie to do it because we both left the theater with our jaws dropped. Like, what did we just see? What happened? Like, every main character died. What? This is crazy. It's not happy ending. It's kind of silver lining to a cloud happy ending. But I saw it in theaters first weekend it came out. I was just super excited about it. I love the little connections. Obviously, this ties into A New Hope and the original trilogy, but I really love the connections and little Easter eggs and things that they threw in there to kind of, characters that we might see and stuff like that to tie it in a little bit closer to the trilogy. But it was just one of those movies where I wasn't expecting what happened to happen. And, looking back on it, 10 years removed from my first time seeing it, I can't even count how many times I've watched it since. It's just such a good movie in general, and it's definitely tops for all Star Wars movies.
Love that. Love that. Love that. Similar feelings, Mike.
Don't hate me.
Ooh, you didn't see it in theaters, did you? You son of a bitch.
I did not see it in theaters.
Oh! That's a joke, right?
No, I did not see it in theaters. And it's nothing against me not being I wasn't into it kind of a thing. There was a span of a good 5 years where I was just I don't want to go to the movies. I'm just going to wait for everything, no matter how bad I want to see it. Because think about it. At that point, there were no dickwads spoiling things on Thursday night.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when I watched it at home.
On your 42-inch TV. Or your projector. What was it? We need to know.
Oh, that was have I been out of my house for 10 years now? Yes. Yeah. That was absolutely a projector in the basement.
100%.
With the surround sound.
Yeah.
So it was my own movie theater.
Yeah.
You know what?
Theater.
It's coming back to me now. I was like, I have my own theater. I ain't paying for shit. I'm waiting for everything.
I don't need that IMAX.
Oh my God. So wait, you watched it solo?
I watched it solo.
Solo with a little whiskey, I'm sure.
Obviously.
Right.
And I just what I remember from it was who are these people? Oh, and they're gone. Because we knew who some of the people were.
Yeah.
But these were all completely new characters for me. And it felt very Game of Thronesy, where it's don't fall in love with characters because they all die.
Yep.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, everybody.
Yeah. 10 years later.
People will still get mad. I didn't get to watch it yet. I love that. That's so funny. What a rhyme, right? What a little bit of a Opposite rhyme. Okay. So I'm trying to remember. All right. Disney obviously buys Star Wars. And I was excited for it. A lot of people weren't excited for it, but I was like, you know what? New perspectives. Like this is going to be a good thing. They obviously announced Force Awakens. We are 6 months after the Force Awakens, right? Something like that. It's or did it come out before? No, Force Awakens came out before Rogue One, right?
Yeah,
And it was
2015.
like, yeah, and it was like, 2015, and then hold on, let's think about this. I don't remember when the Force Awakens came out. I thought it was 2015.
I
Did
feel like it
Rogue
was
One come
holiday-
out
holiday
before
season,
Force
2015?
Awakens? Oh
Yeah.
my god!
Force Awakens was 15.
Like
But
closer
Rogue
to
One- oh, so then
Christmas
did-
time, I think.
Rogue One came out Christmas time. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Something like that. Okay. Regardless, it was a very exciting time in Star Wars land. I remember this. I remember for The Force Awakens, I went to Regal Cinema in Warrington to watch the trailer for a movie I didn't care about. I went to see a movie to watch the trailer for Star Wars. I wanted to see it on the big screen. I saw it on YouTube 1,000 times. Unbelievable. I remember watching the trailers for Rogue One and like nitpicking things, like looking at it and like going like, wow, this is like, what a concept. Like, I don't really get it. And you start reading the articles and, you start reading up on the characters. I think the marketing was probably really good.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of the Star Wars movie, the first time we watch a Star Wars movie, it's always with Dad. 100%. This is what we're doing. Star Wars movie's coming out. We're going to set a day. We're going to go to lunch. Well, actually, we go to the movie first, and then we go to lunch after, so we can talk about the movie. It's a traditional thing that we do. So I think we went to Woodhaven because they had the recliner chairs 10 years ago, which I think they had them before Chamonix, I think it was like new for Woodhaven. So I was like, we're going there.
Pretty sure.
And I remember watching this movie and I'm going, well, you know what the big theory was? How is the movie going to begin? Right? How's it going to begin? Is it going to have a crawl? Is it going to have things? Is it going to sound like John Williams? There was debate about, should it have a crawl, right? Should it feel like an episodic movie? Backs and forth. I like the dialogue. I like the discourse. So it opens up, it will, again, we're going to get to the movie in just a moment. And I just remember watching it going, this feels like a Star Wars movie. Like right from the first scenes to the final scenes, I was like, there's no mistaking this is a Star Wars movie. And then the doors were blown off my brain when in the last 4 minutes of the movie it wraps, and we'll get into the excitement of that. But I was so blown away by it that I started inviting people to go see the movie with me, so I could watch them watch the last 4 minutes. That's how excited I was to see Rogue One. And it's honestly a high replayable movie. Would I watch it again? Have exponential 10. Unbelievable. So excited to talk about this movie. I went back through the podcast archives, and I'm pretty sure obviously we've talked about Rogue One. I think I soloed Rogue One and did the rating. I'm curious about listening back. I kind of was looking for, what I was looking for? Did we talk about if Andor was necessary when it was announced? I was trying to look for a title or any kind of description. I may have found it back in 2020 because I think Andor came out in 2022. And it took 3 years from 2022 to 2025 for it to come out. So yeah. I'm looking back through podcasts. I've got a long trip to Florida. We're going to be listening to old podcasts, and then I'm going to send you the episode so we can see what we actually talked about. So that's going to be kind of cool. But we're very excited to bring this production to you. Obviously, we can't show you the movie, stupids. But I have it down below us in like a light opacity. And we're going to watch the movie, not live on YouTube, but we're going to watch the movie. You're going to kind of see our reactions. And then probably what I'll do is I'll time lapse it to our discussion. So it'll be like a quick 8-minute, quick little time lapse. So I think that's how we're going to work it tonight. Boys, are we ready to get into Rogue One? Boom. Alrighty then. So what an opening for our Rogue One little movie here. We get The Long Time Ago in a Galaxy Far, Far Away, and then we just get bang, right in the face, right in the kisser. Michael Giacchino did a wonderful job with the score. The score, is the first thing we hear. We see immediate cinema, a lot of cinematography going on. It feels gigantic. We're flying through Saturn rings or whatever. I've remembered immediately. I was like, oh yeah, I got Orson Krennic's friggin' shuttle right over there in Legoland. So I love that. Bought that right away. And then all these memories started flooding back. I remember I was super invested in this movie because there was a prequel book that came out to hype this movie up, and it was called Catalyst. And it takes, as we get a little deeper into this movie, there's like a past scene where they're sort of like having dinner with Krennic in their house or their apartment, and like Catalyst takes place up into Galen Erso runs away. And it's really cool backstory and backfill about how, he was recruited to become the scientist that made the Death Star. It's a really, really cool book. But what are our initial thoughts on the opener, right? First off, never had this before in a Star Wars movie, right? In terms of like, what do they call that? A cold opens?
Yeah. Nope, never a cold open.
Right, and we get the hero theme right off the bat, right? That we get so used to. We get Orson Krennic, right? He's not quite the Imperial rank that we know him in Andor, so we kind of we sort of assume this is a past sort of thing that's happening, and it kind of gets our story going. Do you think we needed a 3-sentence intro of what's going on for Rogue One?
A 3-sentence scroll?
Not a scroll. I mean, the Star Wars have done it many different ways. Obviously, traditional upward scroll. You have Solo, which just like faded a sentence at a time on screen. Acolyte, I thought, did a good job, kind of setting up the scenario easy. I always feel that we need give us a quick what's going on and what are we expecting. And this movie didn't really give it to us. So if I had to ding it, it's that. I think we could have said, it's a time. Well, we should like make the crawl right now. It's a time of like Imperial control. Is he a director at this point? I don't think so. You can, lieutenant, whatever they call him. Orson Krennic has finally found the scientist that will help. And they could have just called it the Emperor's Energy Program. Like something like that, just to kind of give us a little bit of a clue of what's going on. Because if you're a non-Star Wars person, you're like, what the hell is going on here?
So is Krennic essentially like, Lucius Fox, like applied sciences of Batman?
I think, he doesn't strike me as a scientist.
But he's like running the program to make... Yeah, he doesn't strike me as... Well, they probably don't believe in science. That's why they have to go get scientists.
He might just be overseeing the project, which leads us to... we're going to have to reread Catalyst. How does he even get involved in that sort of thing? Because it appears... I mean...
I feel like that's left out.
You don't know.
Even in Andor, it's just like, Krennic's running the project.
Yeah. And you accept it, though. That's the kind of cool part. That's where the Star Wars is a great... Well, Andor and Rogue One have done a great job of like just... The disbelief isn't there. You just believe everything you're seeing on screen.
I always
he did call the child it.
Yeah.
Find it.
Find it. I always just kind of took it that he was. It's like any other corporate setting. He's like a project manager.
Yeah.
And it just happens to be the biggest project that the Empire's ever done. So the pressure's on him to not screw it up and everything else. But yeah, you're right. We don't really get like how he came to be, and I don't know what the pecking order is for promotions and like climbing up the ladder, but I would assume he did a lot of terrible things, but good things in the Empire's eyes to get to where he is. I just by the time we see him in Rogue One and Andor.
I just know that the only person who had a cape in the Empire was Vader, and then Krennic. So it takes a lot of balls to walk around with a cape. And it's I always remember that parallel that we made. And then I remember The Incredibles, where you shouldn't have capes, just in case
Never
you
have
get sucked into a jet engine. And yeah, it's just, you go from like, oh, my condolences. Anyway, search the house, because that's what we need to do. Like, what?
Oh, your wife's dead? Cool.
Cool.
Search
Anyway,
the house
search the house anyway. I remember seeing the Death Troopers, right? They were definitely prominent in the trailers.
Marketing for sure.
Definitely. I remember I bought a Death Trooper Hallmark ornament that is still hung to this day, 10 years later. 2015 on the box. I don't know if I'm sure I have Death Troopers over there in Legoland, but I thought the Death Troopers were such a cool, like, they're like all 6'8". They're basketball player, ex-basketball players turned military snipers. Continuity question number 1. Where are they in Andor? Does he feel less secure on an unknown farming planet?
Were they discontinued? Because
Well, no, it can't be. Right? It happens before.
Yeah, you're right.
Wouldn't you think that
Andor doesn't happen before that scene?
Andor has him in Ferrix with Dedra?
That's true.
So I guess Krennic didn't. Maybe, I mean, you could say they're outside of the door that Krennic is at. Okay, they could have showed it on screen. You know, they could have showed it.
Maybe for like just extraction type missions or something. Because
Why
technically an
wouldn't-
extraction, but
So-
I'm just trying to justify why they aren't there.
If they're going for Clea, who appears to be literally make one man feel like 100, why wouldn't they bring Death Troopers to the apartment complex? Instead, they brought Mustache Man and tactical expertise people, which was great, and I thought it worked really great. I thought it was cool seeing like non-helmeted stormtroopers. Like, that was kind of cool. Like, you earned the right to not wear that helmet because you were really good at your job. But why didn't they use Death Troopers? What were they all up to? Very interesting. Continuity issue number 1 has been established early on in our Rogue One watch. Any other thoughts on the opening scenes?
I have another continuity thing.
Fire away.
So this scene obviously happens before the events in Andor.
So I would peg this as 9 years.
Yeah, like
Right.
9 to...
So we'll say 4 years before Andor season 1.
All right, so...
Because she's 19
Yeah.
in Rogue One,
Yep.
right? So if we subtract it back, yeah.
Right.
Well, number 1, a lot's happened to Saw. Addiction. Rito is one hell of a drug.
yeah.
Now,
He was very well spoken and carried himself quite well here.
me thinks that in the scene where Saw is calling Galen
Yeah.
and Lyra, that I see the little breathing apparatus.
Ooh, I didn't notice.
But the
I-
tube wasn't there, I don't think. With
I
the,
think it was.
the mask. I saw the circle.
I think the little breather guy was there.
Hmm.
And it doesn't show up until like the second season of Andor.
So this is a shoulder pad I'm looking like.
I thought I saw it in the
During the opening?
Yeah.
Like in the
the hologram.
Yeah.
Hologram. Oh, you right.
Oh,
What?
so there you go.
Oh,
So
what
they're
a
there
pull
for
by
one and
you.
missing for the other then?
Ball don't lie.
Very good. All right, so we're assuming we can. Well, it's hard because this is a non-issue unless Andor's involved, right? So now that we know Andor's involved, this is prior to Andor, prior to Rito, but maybe not prior to Rito. Maybe we can. Oh man, I can't even justify this. This is an issue. Someone get Gilroy on the phone. We got to talk to him about this.
Or does he like attach it and reattach it as needed?
He might.
Because he
You
did let it go later in the movie, I think, and it doesn't just like suction or stick.
He like pulls.
Shut.
He pulls
He pulls it
the
up, right?
hose like tight, and then he says, "Pork gullet."
Had to keep that on the brain. when we get to that part.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got to think about that. That's pretty cool. So yeah, so we get this nice little Rogue One. Weird title. Let's think back. Well, you got to think. You got to take yourself out. Take yourself out of what you know. Star Wars, Rogue One. Really, just Rogue One.
Yeah, we were so used to like episode and
Yeah.
this, and it's just all right. Rogue One.
Yeah.
Did
And
they
at
even
least
have a?
something that hints towards what the movie, like, something that's going to happen in the movie.
Yeah.
It kind of almost seems random. And then, Rogue, I mean,
So
people are
I've
going Rogue.
always hated the typeface here.
But
I think it's really like Times New Roman simple.
Yeah.
It would have been, I think it would have been better in like the traditional yellow text of the crawl. You know,
I don't hate it because
Yeah.
you need the
True.
distinction between, the Skywalker
Yeah.
saga and the episodes versus a one-off story.
Right.
So I have no
Right.
issue with like changing the font.
Yeah. It just, did it match? Like, did it match the font on the posters that they were marketing as? I'm not so sure. Quick scene. Let's talk about it. Smart people know that that's Jyn Erso, right? We've forwarded in time immediately.
thought that was Alicia Hardy.
Did you notice that her hairstyle is exactly like her dad's?
Yes.
Yes.
Like right away, which is, I really just noticed it now, to be honest with you. It's the first time I've kind of thinking about it. But we think that's a fine transition between the past to the present. Does it get you wondering about what she did?
I mean, there's so many unanswered questions there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
the whole pace of the movie is like boom, boom, boom,
It's
boom,
so
boom.
fast.
There's not a lot of exposition. So I mean, like even in the title, we don't get a crawl. It's just a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
Bang.
Boom, here you
yeah,
go.
Yeah.
And then boom, time jump, here you go. So like it kind of fits with the theme of the movie and
Agreed.
just how chaotic and urgent. It kind of gives like an urgent feeling to everything going on.
We gotta get caught
because
up like real fast.
what's gonna happen is
Yeah.
urgent.
Very much like keep up. We expect you to figure this out.
Yeah.
There's
I
no
love it.
time to be like, there's no time for the alien next door to say, hey, Jyn.
Yeah.
There's no time for that.
You're an asshole, Jyn.
All right, so may I
Talk about the typeface. Do you want to? Can you speak to the typeface? Did you look that up?
May I present?
I can always add.
Similar. So I found a poster that are they still selling at Walmart?
Well, they might.
Is it the character poster?
Yeah, it's the character poster.
Mhm.
So let's see. Hold on.
Is Jyn large and prominent on the
Yeah.
front?
Oh yeah. Death
Okay,
Star
so-
in the back. Everybody else.
It's the same poster that we have on screen right now. Likely. How funny is that?
So
Little blue and gray.
$49.99 at
$49.99.
It's framed.
Oh, that's nice.
11 by 17. So it is a similar font, but it is not like the double outline of the letters.
Yeah.
See, I think it's the double outline of the letters that I don't like.
Like, yeah, I'm looking at it. I like this just solid lettering.
It's
I
also,
don't mind the font, but
I do feel it should have been structured like it is on the poster. Rogue One with the Star Wars underneath of it.
Mhm.
And I think it looks a little red. It's a little maroon.
It's like a bronzish
Yeah.
yellow kind
Yep.
of.
Yeah. It's the color and the double line for me that don't do it for me. So, anyway, that's your nitpick of Rogue One typeface. Guess you didn't expect that to happen. If you're listening to this on the audio podcast, this is bad content. But on the video podcast, it's even worse because you can't see anything that Mike just talked about.
Because I'm
Just
not
kidding.
allowed to share because I'll break
We
Google Meet.
prepped it up and we have Rogue One poster. Very short scene. I don't think we have to talk about anything else unless you saw something interesting. The prison system, right? We get a little bit of like where do the people go? Right? There's like there's an audible scream in the background. Have you heard that? Did you hear that scream?
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Let's see if we can hear it. It's like listening to the scream. I always interpret it as torture. Let's keep going.
I always like the versatility of stormtroopers.
Yeah.
Like, frontline or prison guard.
Yeah. And before we get into the next scene, of course, this is where Andor ends. And, well, yeah. This is where we pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the end of season 2 of Andor, as we do our slow hero walkthrough.
So,
Yavin.
Are we to assume, for a second, are we to assume that from Andor leaving Yavin at the end of season 2, this is the same day?
Yes.
All right. So, like, all of Rogue One literally happens that day of the end of season 2.
This is an interesting concept. We will have to pay attention. But there is I don't think there's any sleeping.
Yeah.
There's no sleeping. This is what we're doing. All of the best movies and events happen in under a day.
But like, one would assume like there's a night scene, then it goes to a day scene.
Well, it's hard. Different planets have different time zones. It's kind of difficult to.
How many hours
straight.
of fuel do they have?
The U-Wing is incredibly spacious inside. I'm going to talk about this when we talk about the way they present the U-Wing on screen and the way it looks inside. Scaling's weird. I got to tell you right now, it's weird. But anyway, we'll talk about it.
We're jumping ahead.
So we're jumping into the Ring of Kafrene, which is just full of bodies, unbelievable cinematography in this. I can't wait to talk about it. Let's go. Okay. Real quick, first off, oh my God, love the introduction to we don't know his name, right? Nothing. We got no information right now. We just know he probably works for we don't know anything, right? We get banged into this scene and we're hearing some things, we're putting it together, weapon, kyber crystals, all that good stuff. Can I start with continuity weirdness?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah.
Continuity weirdness number 1. And again, this is all happened in the same day. The hero walk, he's got a strapped on blaster, Han Solo strapped on blaster, and it's not the same gun that he uses right there. And I'm thinking about it now, he probably didn't want to have a strapped-on gun in Imperial-controlled city to kind of stay under the radar. But the gun he does use to off those stormtroopers and Tivik, R.I.P. Tivik, you did your best, buddy, is Bix's weapon, for sure. If you remember when she was watching Days of Our Lives, she's holding on to it. It's the same weapon, which I love. It's such a cool connection. But not the weapon during the hero walk. I felt like he should have strapped on Bix's weapon for that hero walk because remember we talked about it, he loses his hero weapon in the stunner in the apartment and he has no weapon. He's using an Imperial blaster or whatever to get, actually we don't really know. He's using Clea's or something like that because she was knocked out. So it's just a weird little thing. I don't know if it doesn't matter or whatever, but what are your thoughts on this scene of introduction to our mystery character?
Well, at first, when he kills Tivik, you're just like, oh, what a jerk. But then you kind of see that moment of, regret on his face and what did I just do? And like the gravity of everything. And, you kind of see the remorse there and like, okay, he's not somebody that's completely evil. He's doing all this for a purpose, for a reason. And I mean, like, honestly, thinking quick on his feet in the moment because the only way out is to climb and that guy can't climb. And, they were going to be dead to rights if the rest of the troopers came in or if he didn't, think quick and kill those two. So right off the bat, I just like his like sharp thinking, quick on his feet.
Yeah.
I love the quick turnaround and killing the two troopers. Boom, boom.
Yeah.
Nice and easy. And just, the the overall charisma that he has.
Yeah, agreed. Mike, anything?
And that reminds me
Huge
of like it was an interesting parallel that made the argument between Bix and Andor make sense. When they were both stuck in the hideout in the safe house, and they're arguing about like him killing that boy, that soldier. He was going to talk. So it makes that scene from Andor make much more sense now.
Good
and
point.
it wasn't like it now it feels like he wasn't trying to protect her. He was literally trying to protect the rebellion from this young soldier talking.
Yeah.
But this scene in general, like this scene was a great parallel to just like, and I noticed a lot of them throughout the movie, but it reminded me the opening of Andor season 1 and how we're introduced to him in season 1. He's looking for someone.
Yeah.
He kills 2 people that work for the Empire.
Well,
in excuse me, in an alleyway, essentially.
Yeah, great parallel. And when we retrospect it, even though it happened in the future, this had Luthen's paw prints all over it. Like, you're not going to talk to these guys because I already know you can't climb. You got the thing in the arm. We got to kill you off. Sorry, brother. Thanks for the information. Out of here. I also love that just a few. Well, will we say he gets back with Clea, and then he gets grounded? How much time passes between Bail and his conversation of ungrounding him to the hero walk? Unknown. Maybe a day? Maybe he gets this. Well, he did. No, he did get to sleep. Remember, he comes back. He gets to sleep. K2 wakes him up. I don't know what to do when I wake up humans. This is awkward for me, right? He dreams of his sister. The very last sleep he had was him dreaming of his sister, which is kind of wild if we're going off the theory of this. There is no time to sleep between him waking up last and the end of Rogue One. So he's hearing words that Clea just told him not too long ago. Jeddah, Kyber, Urso. And now it's starting to verify a little bit, but he's trying to he's trying to get more information. And, he can't bring Tivik back, to verify it. It's too late, so he's got to kill him. So it's still not quite verified because, he has to convince Bail Organa, and Bail doesn't do anything without, like, data, a hard data behind it. So such a cool little complex scene. It's 2.5 minutes long. It's a complex scene. It's awesome. I love it. It's a great introduction to a cool character that we end up falling in love with. And now everything is just so much more complex. 2020 later. Anything else? All right, let's rock. Let's rock and roll to what is this instrument that they use to make the
Is it a didgeridoo?
Oh, I hope so. Cinema, baby. Another quickie scene. Bunch of great characters, great costuming. Huttese, for sure, right? That's Huttese, I'm assuming. That sounds Huttese to me. We know nobody's name except for Pilot and Defector, and the mention of Saul Guerrero. Which at this point, have we made the jump? Have we made the connection? I don't know. Maybe. We don't know Two Tubes' name. We just get a quick little hit, and we don't even know it's Bodhi Rook just yet. Again, that quick introduction to a lot of different things. Did anybody notice anything? Okay. How about the title cards? We get names of planets in quick succession, a la Marvel, which I think we remember talking about calling for this, even in the main episodic movies. And it came to bite them in the ass in episode 9, where Kylo Ren opens up on none other than Mustafar, and nobody knows that it was Mustafar because you had to like read a comic or a side book or do a side quest to figure that out. I was convinced we were going to get Vader's castle in episode 9. I remember being so disappointed that we did not. Could you imagine a quest of Kylo Ren going to Vader's castle to find the thing that you needed to get to the Exegol or whatever? That would have been aces. Aces. It would have been so good. And JJ messed it up. That's on him. You know,
But
on me.
interestingly enough, and jumping ahead because whatever, we do what we want, I don't think that Mustafar gets a title on this.
Ooh, let's see.
We'll see.
We'll see. Lava Planet.
I don't think it says anything.
Interesting. Well,
But I appreciate that because it is nice to just, like we get Jeddah, Imperial
Occupied Moon. Like, yeah.
And like, that's all you need to know. Great.
Yep.
I know where I'm at.
It's like
perfect.
alt text. It's really helpful for the reader, especially as we're jumping from thing to thing. Like, we didn't get the name of the planet in the beginning, right? That kind of was just like, yeah, we don't need that. But then we're going to the Ring of Kafrene. Hey, then we're going to here, and then we're going to here, so let's all pay attention. All right, we're on to Wobani.
Congratulations. You are being rescued. Please do not resist.
Great intro to our boy Alan Tudyk as K2SO. All right, Mike, here we go. You're the time guy.
Mm-hmm.
Explain how much time occurs between Wobani and Andor on the Ring of Kafrene.
I am going to assume that it is happening simultaneously.
All right. My thought is Andor got back to his ship and hypercommed in and said, this is what I found out. The big mystery is, how do they know where Jyn Erso is?
Yeah.
And how do they locate her so quickly?
And we're assuming that scene where she's in the prison, that's on Wobani. We're assuming.
That's a good question. Now we can.
Yeah.
I would imagine yes, for sure.
It makes sense because her cellmate's in there with her.
That's true. That's true.
Narcoleptic guy.
And
So is that a setup of like, were they actually being transported somewhere else, or was that like some sort of setup to draw them out to get her?
yeah, good question. I'm assuming that they have tapped into Imperial databases.
We have spies everywhere.
And we have friends everywhere as well. So I think it's believable. Of course, like if you can go down this rabbit hole, I think it's believable. They could get the information. Because like if you think like later on with Eadu, they were like, "Hey, call off the strike," and they're like, "No, we can't. Like it's too late." So they have the ability to communicate. Then of course Andor's like, "I can't communicate. We're in Imperial space right now." There's a little bit of continuity issues there, but that's okay. So we get the introduction, which we got to pretend we're first watching this. They're all random Rebel Alliance people, but are they random? They sure are not random. I'm sure you recognized Andor's BFF, Melch, right? Right off the bat, poor Melch gets a shovel to the chest. He was not prepared for that, which kind of is cool because it shows, Jin's a fighter. Like she's got some moves on her, and she's a survivor. And we're just a reminder, everybody, she's 19 in this movie, and she was able to best 3 grown adults, but not a grown robot. How about the guy? What about me? We don't want you, man. We don't want you. It's no problem. How about I believe the vehicle we've only seen in animation, Clone Wars. So that was a kind of cool little thing. And then I love the idea of like an Imperial labor camp. Do you think they have other Imperial labor camps?
Oh, for sure.
You think they have any of them making parts?
I mean, I don't know what they're doing at this camp because it's definitely not as nice as, the prison where they were.
The all-inclusive adult getaway of Narkina 5.
And why wasn't she on one of those?
Great question. Great question. You know
I
what?
guess depending on the
She's
crime,
got a rap sheet a
severity?
mile long.
that's true.
Different names though.
That's fair.
Different
Yeah.
names. Yeah.
So
Andor
depending on the
barely
rap
did
sheet, I
anything
guess
with a different name.
Yeah.
depends on where you go.
Yeah. It's super.
You know,
super.
almost like solitary confinement versus.
And
just
it's
being-
also prior to Pord, right? And maybe I don't know. I mean, there was an all-female Narkina according to lore with the Dedras.
Yep.
So, you know, they were. It was a thing, but I'm more curious. How did you get there? Maybe you got there when you killed somebody, because it didn't seem like her one of her. Well, we're gonna find out her charges in just a second, but was she charged for murder? Murder of an Imperial? I don't know. We'll have to find
And
out.
also, what do they do there? Like, do they maybe not do something as important, like maybe stormtrooper armor, something like that?
yeah,
You know,
something.
so
Moving
that's
mud.
just like one of those fun questions you could think about. But yeah,
Again, when you're watching this as we mentioned, the movie moves so fast, you don't have time to ask these questions.
No.
right.
You know, you got to just move on and go, okay, got it. They broke her out of camp. Okay, here we go. How'd they get there? Why weren't they seen by the air traffic? Don't they?
Yeah.
Don't they have protection? Anyways, we can go on and on. All right, let's get on to just another damn exciting scene. And again, I think I cheered in theaters. Oh baby, that did not look like Benjamin Bratt at all.
Wow,
Uh,
basil oregano. There he is.
She didn't kill anybody. Charges dropped. Not Narkina 5 approved.
Oh, and guess what, Saul? We do know where you are. Can't fool us.
You have no idea where I am. Oh, turn
Not
that
for
off.
nothing,
Turn
the
that
memes
off.
From that have been phenomenal. So
You have no. We know how to find them. We need you to get us in there, girl.
So wait, unless she is lying to them, she says the last time she saw her father was 15 years ago.
Oh, was it 15? She said.
She said
Yeah.
15 years.
All right, let's do math.
That girl was not 4 years old.
she was
Agreed.
definitely a little bit. I mean, she looked 6.
All right, so then
7.
maybe my brain is going to 19 because that's where the Skywalkers were when they started.
I felt like it was 19 too.
No, she's not 4. No way.
No.
She was 4, unless she's lying. Wait, she was 4 in the other flashback scene, probably, where he puts her to bed.
That girl climbing into the little.
Nah, she's
hole
10.
there. Yeah, she's like 10.
100%. She's definitely a 10. Okay, bad on you, Gilroy. Figure it out. I love Draven in this scene because he's so badass.
Yeah.
And the best line is, if you've got nothing to say, we'll throw you right back into that Wobani Imperial camp. We don't care. Like, at the same time, I'm like, man, Rebel intelligence is cutthroat. You know, this is awesome. They just know things. Like, they figured it out. They have friends everywhere. It's really cool to see it in action. And goddamn, Yavin is so busy still. Why are there so many people walking around? It's the craziest.
How do they not know about this place?
That's
Right.
what I'm saying. Where is this place? Why isn't there a heat map on it? That's crazy. Super excited to hear the fanfare, you know, of the rebels coming in, and for sure. I mean, how much time do we get with Yavin in A New Hope? 12 minutes? You know, nothing. And then this was like the first time we got time with it. Like there's nooks and crannies to explore. There's great things happening. But it definitely looks like there's a sunset going on. Let's take a look at the cinematography right now. Is there a sunset going on? Is this happening the same day? Man, what a question. What a question. No idea. Or maybe it just always looks orange. We see some characters. I find that Andor's voice is super business-like robotic, and I don't know if I like it compared to like the soft-spoken dude we got to know in the more intimate series of shows. He's just very, like, it felt like very stiff for me. Same with Mon Mothma, too. Very stiff. Everything's kind of a little stiff.
I just think it's one of those things where the actor gets more time with the character and they grow into the role, and with this, it's they probably worked on the movie 1-2 months maybe. So just to have that ability to flesh out the character and spend more time in that headspace, but it definitely is noticeable. He sounds way more, like you said, like robotic and just kind of dry.
Yeah, exactly.
Like even hearing him talk outside of the movie, he sounds just exactly the same.
Yep.
Like there's no change to it.
Which is no problem. It's no problem.
I have
for
no
me.
problem.
This felt like this was like day one of filming, and they got like the first couple cuts, and they were like, "Ah, this is good. This is good for us." So let's see if he gets better. But all right, let's think anything else. They're around the table. It's not the same conference table. I think they talked about that. They didn't want to do the same conference room type of setup, so they did a different one in the show, which was fine. And nobody else talked in that scene, but we get some mysterious characters. Merrick, who's the pilot, and Dodonna, right? That's the other old white guy. So again, we don't know them right off the bat, but Dodonna was in Yavin 4 for A New Hope, so that should have been a cool little connection point. And then, of course, Bale, which is Jimmy Smits, right? Jimmy Smits?
Jimmy Smith.
Who was in Revenge of the Sith. So that was a cool little connection point. Genevieve O'Reilly, not in Revenge of the Sith, but in a Revenge of the Sith deleted scene, which obviously never aired, but I think that's how they made the connection there. So that's pretty cool. And everything right now is aces for this movie as we rock and roll through it. Lies!
Deception.
The spacious U-Wing, which again was a staple of the Legoland collection during the 2015 Debt collection. Really cool build. Although, technically not Cassian Andor's. How's that sound? It's just the U-Wing starfighter from the Battle of Scarif, because I don't think Andor's the pilot on that. Anyways. We noticed the gun that Jin chooses is the gun that Vel inspects on the table in Andor, which is neato cool. Other than that, it's pretty interesting when Jin says trust goes both ways. And I feel like Andor, obviously, he acknowledges that, but let's go into the psyche of why he accepted that. And maybe there was a little bit of Bix action going on in his brain that sort of helped him come to that decision that maybe I'm just going to let this one go. I think we can make that leap.
I think it's a little bit of that, but also a little bit, depending on how old she actually is here, almost like a big brother, little sister type thing. I don't think it's so much a romantic thing between them.
No.
On first viewing, when they hugged, I was like, oh, they're going to die. They should just kiss. But knowing what we know now, it almost seems like brother sister kind of thing. So I took it as that, like a big brother, trusting the little sister to play with his toy or whatever.
Yep. I don't like what you said there.
His Lego set.
Okay, got it.
His Lego U-Wing. Sorry.
I've seen documentaries online about what the first thing you said. What do we think about the off? What am I talking about? The off the record order to kill her father, in which she technically states, I hope he was dead. What do we think about that? Little Draven. Now that we know that Draven's kind of an asshole in Andor, but then at the same time not.
Yeah.
We're not too far away from their last little cat fight of, you better not be taking that test flight, or whatever.
Yeah.
Andor sort of just is like, yeah, okay. I've done this before.
I mean, they don't know Galen, And
It's true.
I feel like it's just one of those, if he's this brilliant mind, what could we do to keep that mind away from the Empire? And if it's killing him, it's killing him. But you could see when they flew off, he had that sigh, that like kind of regret on his face of
Yeah.
I didn't want to tell him to do that, but like it's all for the greater good at this point, and it's all hands on deck, whatever we got to do. Kind of mirroring Cassian, when we first see him with Tivik. So he is a jerk for sure, but I just took it as they just can't take any chances of, having loose ends or anything, him getting back to the Empire. So if they see him, just do the deed.
Yeah, no, I agree. It tracks. I mean, it tracks with Tivik for sure. And it adds a little drama because we know it's Jin's dad.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting.
I'm trying to think back to when Luthen was given the message from Lonnie.
Yeah.
Did Lonnie tell Luthen? I mean, I don't think the message got back to Yavin, but I'm pretty sure Lonnie told Luthen that, like Galen Erso's kind of essentially being held there against his will.
Oh, good question.
I'm trying to remember back to that conversation with
I don't
Lonnie
know if it was. We don't know what side he's on. It was just like head scientist Galen Erso. Great question.
And maybe it didn't make it back if it was mentioned, just to take out the humanity side of it and just keep it straight business.
Well, let's assume Dedra read all those files. Wouldn't she have flagged that if it was mentioned that Galen Erso was, a defier or some sort of a non-loyalist? So he might have just been like, he might have saw at the top of the file like head scientist Galen Erso on Energy Project,
right?
Blah 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 blah, and just kind of like remembered that name, and because there's no Jyn Erso, there's no importance to that, but all of the bullet points were there. Kyber, Jeddah, super weapon, and all that interesting stuff. So, so our heroes, like from the time frame, from the beginning of this movie to now, like. We're saying it's a streamlined couple hours, and we're just go, which really we're go from Hero Walk in Andor Season 2. We have to perspective us back just a couple hours. He's looking at, Force Healer, the Yavin Barber Force Healer, sort of giving her nod of approval, like, hey, listen, I might not see you again. And she was right. Well, she wasn't right. She probably saw him the next time they came back to base. But it's interesting. Very interesting. Let's see what happens next.
Porgullet.
There's this. The scenes are flying by. He hits that Rhino because he's got to ride the wave for the Rhino, baby. I really thought that was Oxygen back in the day, but it's so much better that it's Rhino. So let's talk about it. Who wants to? We're back to our pilot, and we now know his name, so that's exciting. We got Rook Bodhi.
Almost sounds like he says booty.
Booty Rook.
Booty Rook.
Local. He goes local boy, eh?
I love Riz Ahmed in this scene. I was reading something where he sent Gareth Edwards like 500 takes of, I guess, one of the scenes for his audition, and just kept sending him video after video after video after video because he wanted to be in this that bad and just be part of Star Wars in general.
Really?
That bad. I just like his performance, the way he like doubles down on some lines. He'll say it and then he'll say the same line with a different tone, like volume, context. It's just, yeah, he's awesome. And then Saw, obviously, this is for a lot of people their first introduction to him. And then just seeing how things are in Andor, and then if you watch the animated shows, seeing him in those, it gives a lot of context, because at first you're just like, this guy's crazy. He's just huffing stuff, and it just, seems ultra paranoid, and he's just such a good character, though. He's so fun.
We get our first full frontal of Saul Guerrero. And again, if you don't watch Clone Wars, and really, he also showed up in Rebels on Andor. So it's like, me, when I was passionate and watch all that stuff, I was like, this, you're feeding me the things that I need. This is amazing. Super paranoid. I don't know if I understood anything of what he was saying first watch, because you just can't. Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
He just has such an interesting accent. But we're starting to see the story. And again, going back to our timeline, at some point later down, Saul realizes all of these events are happening in quick succession, right? Which reminds me, what did Lonnie say, Mike?
So I went back and I looked at the scene. Galen Erso is never uttered in the conversation to from Lonnie to Luthen. When Luthen then sees Clea on that like stairway, he's just firing off like bullet points. Kyber crystals, Jeddah, Galen Erso, like things for. So it never says anything about being like held there against his will or anything like that.
So on screen, Lonnie doesn't mention Urso.
No.
Only Luthen does. So we have to assume that Lonnie did, just not yet.
Yeah.
To the viewer, to the audience. That's super curious.
So because that scene ends with like they're calling it the Death Star, blah 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 blah. Does he say Death Star? It's a weapon that could kill planets. Tell me about this weapon, and then it cuts to Luthen walking to find Clea.
And Lonnie lounging. Super interesting. Who else knows about this?
I also forgot that Saul had metal. He had his Lieutenant Dan legs.
Do we think that's a effect of the Rhino, or like just war? Just war. You know,
because we didn't get a full frontal in Andor, did we?
I feel like everything was like
from chest up.
Waist up.
Quite interesting. It was definitely jarring. We're like, what the hell? This guy's got metal legs. This is awesome.
Because in Rebels, did he have the Lieutenant Dan legs?
I don't think so.
No.
I think this is just showing like the progression of his extremism. And, he gets down and dirty. He doesn't just let his subordinates do the work. He's in there. Super interesting. And then we have, of course, Borgullet, which we'll find out more in a little bit. I can't believe the scale of the Death Star. The shadow, like the thing that we first see in A New Hope is the scale of the Star Destroyer and how large it is. It's like on screen for 1 billion seconds. So then we get almost the same size Star Destroyer on this screen, immediately dwarfed times 1 billion by the space station. It's almost, dare I say, unrealistic to see how ridiculously large it is. It's crazy.
It's its own planet.
Oh my God.
I mean, when we see it in A New Hope, you don't really think about that. But then when we see the little like spider droids putting stuff together, and then they pan out, and then they pan out, and it's just, they're putting together all these, hundreds of little droids putting together just a small, tiny like sliver of the entire Death Star.
Yeah, the
So
exo.
I appreciate the scale. I think it's awesome
absolutely.
that they do it. It's just so cool
so
to see,
cool.
because it's, if it's a planet killer, it's got to be as big as or bigger
You're right.
than a planet.
You're right.
And it's just really neat, really cool scene. I love how the Star Destroyer comes out from the shadows.
Yeah.
Like you said too, with the audio of Bodhi screaming into like the screech of the TIE
Yeah, that was
fighter was really cool.
Yeah, good decisions there. Controversy of bringing back a dead actor, to reprise a character 2015,
They brought someone back from the dead?
the dead speak, as they would say in episode 9. And
Yeah, Galen's wife. She's back from the dead.
love that. Galen with that stuff. Krennic with that. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. It's a miracle. Great friggin' sass. His estate gave the okay. So legally they were cool. They used an actor of similar build, and he used a little dotty dots. And then if I remember correctly, it's Trey Parker. That's his voice from South Park.
Wow.
On it.
Check it. I'm pretty sure I'm right. And I'm not like a South Park guy. So I remember that sticking going, what? And he has his voice down, and they used a physical actor, and then the CGI layered on top. I gotta say, I thought it was great. I couldn't believe that we were getting Tarkin in 2015, looking almost nearly exact to what we remember in A New Hope. I thought it was wonderful.
Now, so he's Governor Tarkin here, but then Grand Moff in A New Hope. Or at least...
That's because
right?
the New Hope, the Imperial Senate was dissolved, right? Almost at the same time that the Death Star was unleashed. Because they had the Death Star to fear them, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I was always just... Because, like, you know, how there's zero time between this and A New Hope. Unless, like, Governor's just, like, another, like, way to formally address somebody, or what. Geez, this guy has so many credits.
On Gorman? Do they have do they call him Moff? Do they call him Grand Moff Tarkin on the Gorman?
Man, what a question.
That is a good question.
So much goddamn research. Still looking through every frigging credit.
He's in a Lego Brickumentary in 2015.
Nice.
And Despicable Me 3, but that's film. But
I'm literally looking in like the uncredited stuff of what's his face of Rogue One.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm thinking
Guy Henry.
Maybe I'm thinking
Governor Tarkin
of
Guy Henry.
What's those stupid Robot Chicken? Maybe I'm thinking Robot Chicken.
Seth Green?
Seth Green did Palpatine, right?
He did.
Guy Henry. Okay. Rescinded. I'm going to edit that out.
But I don't see it.
Guy Henry is who I'm... Yeah. He played him.
Yeah. But
Henry also provides the voice for Tarkin, and they used archival audio for Carrie, for Leia. It's kind of a bummer. I wish it was Trey Parker.
Damn, why do I have that in my brain?
If it was.
Why do I have that in my brain? I feel like maybe I got burned on a tweet.
All I know is Tarkin treats Krennic like a little bitch boy.
Oh man,
yeah.
Little bitch boy. And okay, so they have the
talk circles around him.
You don't see.
And it's funny because away from Tarkin, Krennic is like this confident, like, I confident, Aki son of a bitch.
It's a dog eat dog world, baby.
Get him in front of, Tarkin, Vader. Did I do good?
Save your sermon for Palpatine, Leo would say. I will not fail. Speaking of Krennic, doesn't look like his Andor character at all in the hair department.
No.
Zero. Bad continuity there. What are you going to do? My guess is Ben Middleton said, I'm not cutting my hair. And Gilroy said, no problem. That's my guess.
They were like, you guys put me in Secret Wars. I'm doing whatever I want in Andor.
Exactly.
You can't tell me nothing.
Yeah. Whatever. It's fine.
Secret Invasion, sorry.
Speaking of Marvel, it just randomly popped up that Brave New World's already on Disney Plus, and nobody knew about that.
Yep.
I saw that today when I was queuing up Rogue One. And I said, wow, I'm going to skip that for
And
now.
Thunderbolts is going to lose $100 million, which is crazy because I thought it was a good movie, but the marketing apparently.
No one knows who they are, and no one
Well,
cares.
because they remarketed everything and changed it to New Avengers.
Right.
That costs money.
Yep.
Dum-dums.
But I will say this though for Tarkin, like I think this is one of the first times I can remember them doing like a deep fake because that was kind of when
Yeah.
it took off at the
Yeah.
time, and like you can obviously tell, it looks a little off, but just suspending disbelief to have this character from
hmm
A New Hope in there, I
Yeah.
was perfectly fine with it. Like it served purpose to the story. It made sense. So
I think
it didn't bother me one bit. And I was just excited to see him. Obviously, no, it's not Peter Cushing, but I was just happy to see him, back on the screen again.
more random facts that are not verified. Peter Cushing was born in 1913.
Wow.
It's crazy.
So he was what, 64?
He was also Trey Parker's great-grandfather.
Thank you. Thanks for making that connection. Appreciate you. So we have that. We have a little power struggle. Love the power struggle. When has become now. You have made time an ally of the rebellion. Love that. And it wasn't him though. It was Galen. Just being like really prima donna. Like, oh, we can't use that. We got to try this planet. We got to look at. I'm telling you. I'm still subscribing that Galen is the cause of the Gorman massacre. Going, yeah, we're going to need the... how about that meme? Guys, only think about one thing. It's disgusting. What was it? It was deep structures, something calcite. Something like that.
Uncut calcite.
Oh my God, I was laughing so hard at that. It was so funny. Yeah, so it's just we're just creeping ever so closer to that time frame, and again, we're flying through it. So let's keep going. Great music during that scene too.
Mm-hmm.
In this scene, Jin's 25 years old. Strap in, everybody. This is a long one.
Yeah. We could do an entire episode just on this one scene.
To lose one's mind.
Let's just quickly pause there. It's actually a good break.
Why does he say Borgullet like Sarge, overemphasizing the wrong syllables? Borgullet! Borgullet! Stupid lasso of truth octopus.
Do we think... Well, I actually read... I'm not going to claim this. On Twitter, was Borgullet the answer to Dr. Gorst?
It was Saul's answer.
It was Saul's answer for sure. Now, we know that Borgullet... Well, I'm assuming Borgullet is a force-sensitive being, right? You can hear your thoughts. You can kind of use the tap into that force mystic stuff. How the hell does Saul find out what the Borgullet knows, though? You think Borgullet has one of those fancy typewriters they have in, like, jury rooms? Just uses, like, shorthand?
That's a pretty good question. Yeah, like what's... there's some sort of, I would assume, language barrier there.
Or does Borgullet make you just talk, like, babble? So if you're babbling... Yeah, it's like one of those things where it's like... What is it? Drunks often tell the truth, or I forget what the saying is. It's like
Truth serum type of stuff.
Yeah, just like, when you lose your inhibitions a little bit, loose lips sink ships, as they would say. So I wonder how Borgullet's so disgusting looking. It's hilarious to seeing it.
Borgullet!
Do you think it tentacles up to Saw's head to transmit what it
Super
found?
interesting. I wouldn't,
Because he also says the side effect is you tend to lose your mind, and clearly
it would be pretty
Case in
interesting
point.
if, like, the last part of that scene was the other tentacle of Borgullet hitting Saul in the head. That would be wild.
Just Eiffel Tower and Boar Gullet.
Oh yeah, big time gullet. Open the gullet, you know what I'm saying?
Whore Gullet.
Oh baby, I love it. Thanks for sticking around in this video cast of Rogue One part. We don't know what part this is just yet. So we have Andor. I think this is the scene where, like, I think Andor becomes a little Andor. You know, he's off base. He can be a little bit himself. On base, he's got to be this prim and proper stuff. But now off base, I love the line where he goes, "That's Jeddah." Pause. Or what's left of it. Like, settle down, Cassian. All right? We don't need the drama.
But in one day of literally going rogue to go get Clea, he's all of a sudden prim and
That's what I'm
proper.
saying.
Look
That's
how
what-
proper I am as a captain.
I guess I got to clean this act up in 5 hours. Bail Organa told me I had to. Cassian, I had to. Yeah, so that's a good stuff. Again,
Did you know that wasn't me?
Of course.
I thought I told you to stay on the ship.
big discussion on the armor of the KX units, right?
Yep.
Is why she can, knock him out, but seemingly Andor is firing away at what is going to be K2 on Gorman. Let's just remember, these KX units were created in Rogue One, and then in the Jedi Survivor games with Cal Kestis as an enemy into Andor. Like, they're not really seen in any other sort of, flicks and TV shows and stuff. So why such a difference in armor durability? And I might have an answer for you.
I was going to take a guess.
Take your guess, and then let's see what
I was going to go with, like, strength of blaster.
strength of blaster would be on the table here. So here is the thought. And again, it's somebody on X that, somebody was being facetious about something. And they were like, well, the rebels probably realized after the Gorman Massacre that they needed armor-piercing blaster power. And the person was like, do you have any proof about that? And then he went into this whole discourse about military operation. And I go, I believe this guy. And essentially it makes sense. Like, Andor's firing with a standard issue blaster that's doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It is deflecting. It is doing nothing. So what do? You counterattack. You have a KX unit now in the Rebel Alliance headquarters. You're testing your blasters against that. And now you are doctoring up your blaster capabilities.
Yeah, and like one was, you see different types of blasters with different types of strength.
Sure.
So you would assume that these
Set for
rebels
stun.
on Gorman, these rebels on Gorman are probably going to have like a 22. They're like
No.
little baby bullet
Yeah.
blasters.
Now, counterpoint,
Right.
technically they stole Imperial weapons.
That's true.
And they were using Imperial weapons, but Andor
Maybe they
was.
don't know how to use them.
Sure. Second thing, Jin uses a Imperial blaster
Yep.
to knock him out. So clearly the Imperials have armor-piercing, blasting weapons. So,
Standard issue AR-15 blasters.
yeah, what are they called? The E blasters? E25? E41 blasters? I forget what they're called. But it's just an interesting... I had to pause here just because it came up. Someone would break through and say, did you know that was not me? And she's like, no. I'm going to lie to you and say that it was. But, yeah, okay. That's all I want to say. Anybody, any thoughts, comments on the armor
Is that-
KX?
This town is ready to blow. Ha!
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen... And, like, literally, now let's think about in Andor. He's literally been in 2 towns that had this type of tension. Ferrix and then Gorman. And he's looking around going like, yo, my antennas are up and it is not good. I also love in this scene that there's no music until like halfway through the battle starts. And it's really cool. It's just all like environmental sounds and shit like that. It's really cool. Love this really what I would say the first action scene 32 minutes into the movie, which is pretty neat. Pretty neat. All right.
Are we also to assume that Ball Chin gets off Jeddah? Because aren't they in the cantina?
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
They're
yeah,
in, yeah, Ponda Baba
Yeah.
and Doctor. Can't think of his name.
yeah.
But
How they
I don't know
get
how he
it.
got a PhD. That's
Dr.
crazy.
Ball Chin.
My assumption is that they were on their way out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they wouldn't have made it for sure. Definitely.
Just
Yes.
such a random little thing to throw in there, but still funny.
It was cool. I
Kinda
enjoyed it. I
eased
enjoyed
the
it.
tension a little bit
Yeah.
with all the heaviness of the movie so far.
Yeah. And literally, he just talks shit to anybody. It's not just
Yeah.
Luke.
Yeah.
So the little Napoleonic complex he's got going on here. So here we go.
You did, but I thought it was boring and you were in trouble.
Go back to the ship. Wait for my call.
I'd like to point out in this long scene that Cassian carries around Nemec's manifesto on his shoulder. I think that was called out during Andor season 1 that it was designed, like they used this design to like pull the manifesto into, you know, his life and stuff like that. I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I think it would be cool if that's the case. If that is the case. Let's talk about Chirrut Imwe for just a
Donnie
moment.
fucking Yen.
Who does a great job. Loved it, you know, in his introduction. Like, you don't really hear his name when he introduces himself to Jin. No way. It's too much going on. But we get introduced to these cool characters, and well, you know, we have a lot of scenes to go, but I think it's a good time to introduce Baze Malbus and Chirrut Imwe, and they have a book called The Guardian of the Wills, which I have and read. A lot of Rogue One stuff in the house now that I'm thinking about it. It's a good time to be alive back in 2015, 2016. And I love the plastoid exploding off of the armor of the stormtroopers as he smacks them around with his stick, his disco stick. You know what I'm saying, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Let's have some fun. This beat is sick.
Let's blast some plastoid with this disco stick. Oh, that's gonna be good. Good content there. I have one issue with the fight scene. What issue do you think I have, Dame, with the fight scene? It's doesn't really make too much sense.
Was it his little quip?
Quip is good. I'm good with the quip. Here's what I'm not good at: him brushing sand into someone wearing a helmet.
Yeah. Did he break the visor first, though, or no?
I don't know, but
I love, like, this is like the first time like martial arts has been really introduced in Star Wars as well, right?
Agreed, unless you're Trinity in the Acolyte. I don't know.
Yeah, but like
I agree. Yeah. Back like, you know, when this was first out.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean Jedi. Well, he's not a Jedi, but like Jedi they don't fight with hand-to-hand combat. This would be considered hand-to-hand combat, I would say.
Because like, especially like getting some like one of the best in the business in Donnie Yen to do this type of scene was just fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm not like into the Donnie Yen stuff. So let's talk about what he means to you.
One of the best worst movies ever of like just watch it for pure insanity, pure fun and explosions. Xander Cage. Triple X Return to Xander Cage.
Wow.
Donnie Yen is the man. He was in a bunch of I know he was in Blade 2.
A bunch of martial arts stuff, because like
a lot of martial arts
this
stuff.
for me was my first introduction to him.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in the recent John Wick.
He was in John Wick 4, and so now he's like apparently plays like badass blind characters because he was blind in John Wick 4 too. But yeah, so one of my buddies, Jason, is really into martial arts films, and he was showing me clips of Donnie Yen from probably like 20, 30 years ago, and just the stuff that he was capable of doing that even back then, you know, and it's more impressive now because he's older, but yeah, he's like very well accomplished overseas in films and martial arts and stuff like that. But it's just really cool to see him and to see like that fighting style, because we're just used to lightsabers or blasters, like minimal hand-to-hand combat, and him using his feet and agility and everything else in here, which is really, really cool. And I remember seeing it in the trailer, and I'm like, that's really interesting. I can't wait to see what this whole scene is.
And he's had like this obviously Asian franchise of the IP Man or Ip Man, where he's had like 4 of them. He was in the live action Mulan. Like, he's been in a ton of stuff. And all of his martial arts work is just
cool.
Fantastic.
Good information to know if you're not a Donnie Yen fan now.
Was he in Crouching Tiger?
Ooh, what a question.
Does anybody know what year that would have been?
Wow, high school?
But like
early 2000s for sure. Looking right now.
Yes, me too.
2000 to be exact.
Yeah, no, he wasn't in that. But like Jet Li level of martial arts, especially in the
So this was a nice legacy callback to him being in this movie for him is like a big deal.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I would say so.
That's awesome. That's good stuff.
And I would feel like it's probably his introduction to the majority of like Americans.
I didn't know who he was, so that would be
I had no idea
that would be accurate.
So I'm right there with you.
Who's this? Oh, he was in Triple X Return of Xander Cage that was his movie right after Rogue One.
Oh,
so Star Wars put him on the map.
Yeah,
of course.
He was just cashing in checks after that.
Exactly.
He was great in John Wick 4. Really, really good in John Wick 4. I'd love to see him in another John Wick movie. Or if they want to do a Baze and Chirrut series, I would be all for that.
Yeah. Little bad cop, good cop sort of thing. Selling.
The headshot from Baze is so good.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. And then, I just love his blaster. It's insane.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool little charge pack he's got going on there, which is pretty neat. So, all right, let's keep going. Oh, I suppose it's a scene change, so why don't we talk about what we just saw? What do we think about Andor's clear lie of prison?
I mean, he said cage, so
it's true.
Maybe.
Yeah, he didn't really have a cage.
Specific to just cage.
I always like the retort from Chirrut saying, there is more than one kind of prison. And Andor's like, shit. He got real deep there. He's in the prison of his, the prison is the shooting of Galen Erso. That's where he's at right now. That's always weighing on his brain. And when we have, what did I see that I don't like? You know what? Never really liked it. Still don't like it today. Do we need Chirrut's humor of I'm blind in this very serious movie? I don't like it.
There's that whole scene. There's a little too much humor for me. From like starting from when they first meet Chirrut, no hostiles, one hostile.
Yeah.
To, oh, did you hurt your foot?
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I'm blind. There was a little too much humor for me.
Yeah, I agree. I don't like that at all. I think we get it. They're putting things on. They could have did two, and then they whisk them off and whatever.
I'm okay with K2 being just the comedic relief, or just keep it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything else, when we were talking about the other scene, his quip, "Oh, how's your foot?" just didn't fit in the scene for me. I was okay with the "Are you kidding me? I'm blind" thing. But I remember when I watched it in the theater, people were like audibly laughing, and I
It
don't think I
doesn't
ever recall
feel
that for another
right
Star
for
Wars
Star
movie
Wars,
I've
yeah.
been to. You know, it just seemed out of place for a Star Wars movie to have like a big laugh like that. You get the sarcasm from the droids like C-3PO, K2, whatever. But yeah, it just seemed a little out of place.
The last
Now,
audible,
like,
yeah.
oh, I'm sorry, go.
I was gonna say the last audible laughter I heard was when Rey declared herself a Skywalker.
To elderly
Boom,
Bix on
roasted.
Tatooine, right?
Correct. To elderly Cleia.
Yeah.
Who
that's
are
right.
you? I have friends everywhere. What if Ray said that? That would have been unbelievable. What were you gonna say, Mikey?
The like knowing what the show Andor was and how very little humor there was in it.
Yeah.
Now, like a lot of humor, I'm like, no, I don't want it.
No.
I don't want it anymore.
We need this to be deadly serious. We don't need
Yes.
humor at this time. That's funny.
This is a serious thing. Everybody, shut up.
Yeah. Speaking
That's
of,
how you know it's Disney-fied. At least from
Yeah.
when they first got the franchise
yeah,
and
yeah.
the forced humor. And they still do it with Marvel to this day. Like forced jokes, like out of place laughs and stuff like that. But it seems like they're kind of course correcting because, you know, based off of Andor, like you said, and how serious it was,
Mhm.
they might have realized, okay, yeah, like we should just go with a serious show because, you know, our audience for this is adults, not
Yeah.
children.
yeah, I love it. Good point. Speaking of serious, we're about to get into a serious scene here. Krennic is such a loser.
No, what dweeb.
I hate it. Well, I love that he yells fire before like his subordinate can get like the command out to him. Like he can't get it. He just can't help himself. It's so
Not
cute.
even powered up.
He's the you know, the smallest child that didn't get enough attention, so he
Yeah.
has to go above and beyond to prove himself.
Yeah, I love the bickering. The bickering is great. Like, oh, you would think the Emperor would want to be here, and Tarkin's like, dude, I told him not to come. Well, how about that?
I also didn't realize that like Death Star just had like different levels of destruction. I always thought it was just like
Yeah.
destroy the planet.
Right. Because
That's
I mean when we see Alderaan, that's just 2 seconds and boom, the whole thing's
Yeah.
done.
That was a full
and this
reactor.
is like a tidal wave of destruction, but only focused on
One
Jeddah
little
City.
city, yeah.
There's a cool, there's a comic that shows Jeddah, the aftermath, and it's not good. It's the planet's not destroyed, but it looks like a crescent moon. You know, after that, so it's really interesting that the single core. You know, the Death Star being upside down looks weird, you know, in the orientation of the first scene, which is like a cool little thing. And then it goes into the scene where we're right side up with people, but then the planet's upside down. So it's like
Right.
really cool. They kind of disorient you a little bit. Again, going back to the massive scale and size of the Death Star in this flick is quite the thing. But the tension is rising in this movie as we're getting a active test of the Death Star, and I wonder how it's going to go.
Who's the one in the next cell?
He was dispatched from the installation on Edo, Galen Erso's facility.
Bada bing, bada boom. Single core reactor does some serious heavy damage. They're looking like sunny side up eggs right now on Jeddah City, which is unbelievable. We have the message, such a heart-wrenching scene of Galen, you know, redeeming himself in a hologram to his daughter and ultimately passing on the reason why the Rebel Alliance can blow up the Death Star in the first place. Swervy, swervy, swerve. And I'm pretty sure I cried in theaters about it. I'm pretty sure I still tear up listening to it. It's a wonderful scene. And the escape is so exciting. You don't know if they're going to escape. You know, some will escape, but do they all escape? And just the cinematography with the Death Star going across the sun and eclipsing while they shoot down Jeddah, and then the sun comes back up. Oh, There's nothing but chef's kiss in this sequence of events. Your thoughts, Sunnyside?
I the how they escaped kind of reminded me of the Mummy with Brendan Fraser
Yeah.
when that giant
Oh, yeah.
sandstorm. Like I got those vibes from it. You know, great escape. I just you almost feel for Krennic at the end of this because it's like, look at this amazing thing that I've done. This is me, right? You're going to tell the Emperor I did good, right? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to tell him I'm taking over too.
Yeah, you get nothing, brother. It's like you
It's
never
like the kid-
existed.
It's like the kid in the group that gets an A. That's basically
the group
that's
that-
Tarkin. He's like, yeah, I got an A. I did all this work myself.
Yeah.
And yeah, take
He's
credit.
sort of, and just like hours ago, Krennic was like, Dedra, you're nothing. You're nothing. And Tarkin gives him the same speech right on the opposite end. Like the ISB and science divisions are slowly being dissolved as quickly as possible. That's so funny.
Another get us out of here from Andor.
Yeah.
He said there's a couple like there's happened in Andor and in Rogue One. Well, where going back a little bit, couldn't K2 didn't listen and didn't stay on the ship.
Yep.
Save the day. Yelling at him, get us out of here again. But yeah, love. What was I wrote something. No.
I do like the "I'll make them for you" calculation, sort of like that's great, and because it reminds me of like Han Solo in A New Hope going like, yeah, if we don't do this exactly, like we could end up in a black hole, or oh, we gotta go, all right, punch it. Like let's not worry about that right now. We're just gonna throw caution to the wind. Jeddah is featured in the High Republic lore. There's a story that takes place on Jeddah, so Jeddah gets fleshed out a little bit. But I just love Jeddah City and all of its cultural world building that it does. I like it. You know what it opens with? Little kids running through the street. They're dead.
They're so dead.
You know, you've got Ferrix, Gorman, now Jeddah. You know, and the Empire is just increasing in its totality of death count, and it's just crazy to think about it.
You know what I would have liked to have seen now, knowing what we've seen in Andor with like the Gorman massacre and how they spun that in the Senate. I would have loved to seen like a cutaway scene of the Senate and how they talked about destroying Jeddah.
Well, it's a mining accident, buddy.
Oh, yeah,
It's late. Hey, it's a late
It
night,
is late.
and our brains are. Well, listen, during that scene, the tentacles of the Borgullet hit all three of us at the same time, and we are losing one's mind for sure.
I am losing one.
So let's do roundtable final thoughts on the first 52 minutes of Rogue One. Dame, start us off.
Starts here and just keeps going up and up and up and up. Like it's just building throughout the entire thing. And yeah, like this was just, like I was saying a little bit earlier, Alderaan, it's just like blink and gone.
Yeah.
This was just so much more jarring to see how just everything's coming up on the planet itself and moon. Just insane. But it's just so good. And like, we said this movie's just so fast paced. It's just one thing after another. So it's crazy. And then the second half, is just even crazier. So I can't wait.
Yeah, going to be really exciting. Mike, final thoughts, if you have any?
Yeah, it's very much like you don't have time to take a breath or think with this movie. That's why it is like it is a mandatory rewatch several times because the first time through, because it's so quick and bouncing from place to place, you do miss a lot.
As you were saying, Rogue One's the best movie since Return of the Jedi. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Return of the Jedi is incredibly conflicting. That's super interesting. Oh my God, is that Borgullet?
It is
We had a
Borgullet.
network connection issue and Borgullet showed up. It's amazing, but
If that stays on your head long enough, you're going to lose your mind and then start saying Acolyte is the best Star Wars property or project.
wow, my goodness. And with that, folks, there's no place to go but down. And that's where we head. As we finish up part 1 of our Rogue One watch, we want to thank everybody for hanging out with us and utilizing this time to revisit Rogue One, a 10-year-old movie right after Andor Season 2, which debuted in, April? April of 2025? May? End of April? Beginning of May? And all that good stuff. We'll get the next couple parts out as soon as possible, so make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to interact with us on all the socials. And if you don't, we'll send Borgullet after you, and that's just the way we're going to do it. So hopefully... hopefully you keep on smiling like our sunny side up eggs. Give me a little smile there, big guy. And we'll see everybody on the other side on our Rogue One chat. We want to thank Damien for his time. We want to thank Mike, sunny side Tete, with a side of sass and whisk. And, of course, I'm your host. And we're going to keep on going with our Rogue One watch. Here's some secret sauce. This might be an hour long, but it took us 2.5 hours to actually record. And the boys, they didn't know what they were getting themselves into, but they stuck with it. And then my internet went out, so now we have to end everything. We'll see you in part 2 or maybe part 3. Maybe we'll jump around. We don't know. We don't know. We'll see what happens. We will see you on the other side.
On the flip side, like the eggs. See you on the flip side.